Two impossible things have happened. Kai cured and Indy dead. I have so many pictures of Indy in my mind. Indy climbing the wall of the carving, piloting the boat down the river, holding the wasp nest carefully in her hands. How can she be gone? She can't. It's impossible. But Kai believes it. Kai is back. There is no time to linger over the miracle, to watch him return, to sit and hold his hand and talk with him. Instead, there's a race, a rush to get on board. And within minutes, the pilot is landing in the village we're lifting off. I don't have a chance to thank Anna for the bulbs, to say goodbye to Eli, or look back at Lena and Colin and the other villagers as they watch us leave, hoping we will return someday, this time with ships that will take them all to the other lands. Xander sits in the cockpit seat, and we strap Kai's stretcher down in the hold, where it will still be most secure. Xander told Tess and Noah what he added to the cure, and they gave him Oker's formula for the base we used. This way we can tell those in the province what we used, and the villagers can begin curing the still left behind. A collaboration again, all of us doing something together that would take us much more time alone. It will be like an extra trial for the cure, Lena told the pilot. When you return to take us out, we will have cured all the patients, and you can bring them back to their families. She sounded as if she never doubted Xander, as though they hadn't planned to sentence him to exile or worse for destroying the Chemesia cure. But it's true that the cure belonged to the village. Anna and Oker, Colin, Lena, Tess, Noah, and the guards. They are also the pilots of the cure. I sit in the runner's seat for the takeoff, but as soon as we're stable, I unbuckle my straps and kneel down next to Kai, holding his hand tightly. He looks up at the side of the ship, and I see something drawn there. Real pictures, not notches, or markings. There are the people standing and looking up at the sky, which seems to be falling down upon them. But some of the people, not all, have picked up the pieces and are tipping them back in their mouths. Drinking the sky, Kai says. That's what Indy said they were doing. We had pictures like this in one of our ships, too. He takes a long, deep breath. His voice sounds stronger already. It's a picture of you bringing water to your enemy to help them survive the plague, he says to the pilot. Isn't it? A few minutes the pilot doesn't answer. Then I hear his voice coming through the speaker in the hold. It's a quiet and sad, and I think that we are, for the first time, hearing his true voice. The society told us the plague would make the enemy ill, an easy defeat, the pilot says. They said we'd bring the enemy in as prisoners, but when the plague started to work, our orders were to leave the enemy where they were. And you saw them die, Xander says. Yes, the pilot says. When a few of us ran the risk of flying in water, most of the enemy wouldn't drink it even though there was a drought. They just didn't trust us. Why would they? We'd been killing one another for years. I think of those thirsty, dying people, unable to drink anything but the rain which did not come. So they really was an enemy, Kai says. But after they were gone, the Rising stepped in to act their part. Did you kill the farmers on top of the carving to keep your cover? No, the pilot says. That was a society. For years they used the people in the outer province as a buffer between the main province and the enemy. He clears his throat. So I should have realized that we were no longer a true rebellion. When we let the farmers and so many other anomalies and aberrations die, we told ourselves that the timing wasn't right to reveal ourselves, but we still should have tried. Kai's hand, warm in the dark, tightened around mine. If the Rising had stepped in, so many might have been saved. Kai's family, Vic, the boy who took the blue tablets. You should have known that the Rising was real, the pilot said. The scientists who came up with the immunity to the red tablet were true rebels. So was your great-grandmother, and so many of the others, especially those of us in the army. But then the society realized that their power was slipping, and they discovered that they had a rebellion in their midst. At first, they tried to take back control by getting rid of the aberrations and anomalies. The society began to infiltrate us the way they had infiltrated them. Now I don't know who is who anymore. Then who put the plague in the city's water supplies, I asked. Who tried to sabotage the rising? If it wasn't people working for society, it appears, said the pilot, that the water supplies were contaminated by well-intentioned supporters of the rising, who felt that the rebellion wasn't happening quickly enough and decided to move it along. For a few moments, none of us speak. When things like this happen, when what was meant to help results in harm, when the self brings pain instead of healing, it is clear how wrong even choice intended to be right can become. But why didn't the society destroy the rising outright if they knew you existed? Xander asked, breaking the silence. The society could have cured everyone on their own. Oker told me that they always had a cure. Why didn't society make enough cures so that they could let the plague come in and administer the cure themselves? The society decided that it would be easier to become the rising, Kai says, didn't they? As soon as he said this, I knew he was right. That's why the transition of power was so smooth and so little fighting, because if they became the rising, I say, they could predict the outcome, the final predicted outcome. That's what my official said back in Oria at the museum. That's what she wanted to see, in my case, and what society always took into account. Society had discovered that we'd be making people immune to the red tablet, the pilot said. So more and more people couldn't forget, I say, understanding. People were showing signs of wanting a change, a rebellion. This way, they got one. And the society stayed in power without people, including many of those who predicted in the rising, knowing what had really happened. They'd make a few changes, but for most part, things would go on as they had. Society must have known that people become restless eventually. They may even have predicted it. Why not have a rebellion if they could calculate the outcomes and secure their power again under a different name? Why not let the rising a real rebellion in the beginning to make things seem authentic? Society knew people believed in the pilot, and they took advantage of that. But they didn't turn out as the society intended. The plague mutated, and the people know more and want more, and the society thought they did. Even people who weren't chosen for immunity, the red tablet, people like me. The society is dead, even if they don't know it yet. I believe in a new beginning, and so many others out there, those writing on scraps to hang in the gallery, those who continue to work hard to take care of the sick, those who dare to believe that we all could be the pilots and something new and better. We step like plush in the sands and like snow. Waters murmur now. 3 rivers and a hill are past, 2 deserts and a sea. I look at Kai and rewrite the end of the poem in my mind. But I must count this journey all, for it has brought me thee. The door to the hold opens and Xander comes down, and the light from the cockpit flooding in behind him. I thought I should check on Kai, he says. I smile at Xander and he smiles back. For a moment, it is all as it was. It is all the same. Xander looks at me with longing pain in his eyes. We are flying wild through the world, and we could belong to anyone, and I know why Kai kissed Indy back. And then it was gone. I am certainly that this is too late for us, for Xander and me. in that way. Not because I can't still love him, but because I can no longer reach him. Thank you, I say to Xander. I mean these words as much as I love you, as much as anything I've ever said, and I feel a heavy, low, longing note of regret. For in the end, I didn't fail him because I didn't love him back, because I do love him back. I failed him because I cannot do for him what Kai does for me. I cannot help Xander sing. When we stand in Cadmus, I find I am soon so flying again. We pause only long enough for Xander to make more cures so that I could bring it with me to Kenya. And though this is a journey that I long to take, I had to leave Kai and Xander behind. I'll be back soon, I promise to the two of them. I will. In a matter of hours instead of days and weeks. But I see the worry in Kai's eyes, and I know it in mine. We are haunted by all their goodbyes, and so many of them. And so is Xander. Hunter was right about one thing. There has been too much leaving. We land in a long field, not even a runway near a small town, where my parents lived in Kenya. As the pilot, the medic, and I leave the ship, I see several figures on the ground walking to meet us. One of them, smaller than the others, breaks into a run, and I begin running too. He throws his arms around me. He's grown, but I'm still taller and the oldest, and I know I was not here to protect him. Bram, I say. And then my throat aches so much I can't speak anymore. The rising officer comes up behind Bram. We found him right before you were due to land. Thank you, I manage. And then I pull back and look up at Bram. He stares up at me. He's so dirty, very thin, and his eyes have changed and darkened. But I still know him. I turned him around and breathe a sigh of relief when I find the red mark on his neck. They both got sick, Bram said, even with the immunizations. I think we found a cure, I say. I take a deep breath. It's too late. Do you know where they are? Yes, Bram said. And then he shakes his head. His eyes fill with tears. I can tell he's pleading with me to not speak anymore, to not ask any questions. He's answering. Follow me, he says, and he begins again to run, just as he always wanted to do. Right out into the open, down the streets of the town, no officials to stop him, or the rest of us. As we hurry through the empty streets under the brilliant, careless sun, to my surprise, Bram takes me to the town's tiny museum, not the medical center. Inside the museum, the display cases have been broken into and the glass has been swept up. Any artifacts that would have been stored are now gone. The map of the society has been drawn on, altered. I would like to look closely to see what is marked there now, but I don't have time. There are many of the still lying on the floor throughout the room. People look up when we come in. Their faces relax slightly at the sight of Bram. He belongs here. They ran out of space at the medical center, Bram says, so they had to bring her here. I was lucky because I had things to trade. Other people had to do their best they could at their homes. Here, at least, they have the nutrient bags some of the time. Her, my mother. But what about him? What about Father? Bram kneels down. She looks very gone. I'm trying not to panic. Her face is so pale against the scattering freckles. There is more gray in her hair than I remember. But she looks young, and her eyes open like this, young and lost to us. I turned her every 2 hours like they told me. Bram said, her sores have healed. Is that bad though? He speaks very fast. But look, she has one of those bags now. That's good, isn't it? Very expensive. Yes, I say. It's very good. I pull him close again. How did you manage it? I ask. I traded with archivists, Bram said. I thought the archivists were all gone. I say. A few came back, Bram said. The ones that had the red marks started to trade again. I shouldn't be surprised. Of course, some of the archivists would not have been able to resist to come back. Seeing the void onto which they could begin their trade and their trinkets. I lean in closer to Bram so that I could whisper to him. We're taking her back with us, I say. Is it safe? Bram whispers back. Yes. The rising medics said, "She can be transported. She's stable and shows no sign of infection." "Bram," I say softly, "we don't have very much of the cure yet. The rising thinks Mama might have been able to help them, so I agreed that she would be the first to have it." I glance over at my mother. She's staring ahead eyes, and I bargained for him too. Silence. We were coming back here, but where is he? Where's Papa? Bram doesn't answer my question. He looks away. "Bram," I say again, "where's Papa? Do you know?" "He can come with us and have the cure," they promised. "But we don't have much time. We have to find him now." Then Bram starts to sob. Great heaving sighs. They bring the dead out to the fields," he says. "Those of us who are immune can go and check on them." He looks up at me, his eyes filled with tears. "That's what I've been doing for the archivist," he says. "I can go out and look for faces." "No," I say in horror. "It's better than selling the tubes," he says. "That's the other job that pays well." His eyes are different, so much older, having seen so much more, still the same, with the obstinate glint I know well. "I don't do that. Selling the tubes is a lie. Telling people whether or not their friends and family are dead is the truth." He shudders. "The archivists let me choose," he said. "They have people coming all the time wanting information for the tubes or to know where the people they love are. So I help them. I could find the people if they gave me a picture, and then they paid me with what I needed for her. He did everything he could to take care of our mother, and I'm glad he saved her, but the cost was high. What has he seen?" "Wasn't in time for him," Bram says. I almost ask Bram if he's sure. I almost tell him that he might be wrong. But I know he knows. He saw. Father is gone. The cure is too late for him. "We need to leave," the medic tells me, and he helps the rising officer lift my mother onto the stretcher. "Now, where are you taking her?" someone asks from across the room. We don't have answers. "Did she die?" someone else calls out. I hear their desperation. We'll pass through the still and those who tend them, leaving them behind. Their hearts ache. We'll be back, I want to tell them, with enough cures for everyone next time. "Do you have?" someone asks, pushing through. An archivist. "Is it worth a different kind of medicine? How much is it worth?" The officer takes care of him while we hurry through the doors out to the museum. On the ship, Bram climbs down into the hold with me and the medic, who starts a line for my mother. I put Bram close, and he cries, and cries, and cries. And my heart breaks, and I think his tears will never end. Then they do, and this is worse. A shivering and stuttering and shakes his whole body. I do know how I can feel this much pain and survive. In the same time, I know how much I have to live. Please, I think, let Bram feel that second part, somewhere inside his despair, because we are still together. We still have each other. When Bram falls asleep, I take my mother's hand. Instead of singing her name of flowers, as I had planned, I say her name, because that is what my father would have done. "Molly," I say, "we're here." I press the paper flower into her palm, and her fingers twitch a little. Did she know this lily would cure us? That it was important somehow? Was she simply finding a way to send me something beautiful? Whatever the case, it worked. But not soon enough for my father.